Hello again, people. Those of you who are interested in politics and who are into my program on conservatism, third in a series of four. Hello world, internet, Jason Isaacs, all the usual suspects. Welcome back. So today we're going to be talking about conservatism. Specifically, we're going to be talking about one nation conservatism. Now, we're going to follow through the same protocol we've been following so far. The first half of this is really easy. The second half gets a little bit more tricky. But let's just crack on then and see where we all get to. So what's the context here? We are looking at Britain in the 19th century. So we're looking at the aftermath really of the Industrial Revolution. We've got massive income inequality. We've also got communism starting to rise, but largely on the continent. But don't forget, Marx is wandering around London at this time, writing his various theses. If you haven't watched Mark Steele's essay on Mark Steele's lecture on Marx, you really should. It's absolutely brilliant. I'll try to remember to link off to that on the way through. So that's what Marx had to say about communism. And then we've got Disraeli. He is a critically important figure in the context of one nation conservatism, and so of course they left him off the curriculum. I can't answer that question. Maybe somebody else can. But this is the phrase, really. This is from his novel Sybil that gave rise to this concept of one nation conservatism. And you can read it there. I'm not going to read it out to you, not least because it comes up on the next page as well. So we're looking at our one nation thinkers. These are the ones, well, Disraeli isn't on the curriculum. Can't answer that. But this is what he's talking about. And of course, it's worth pointing out, although you can't do it in your essays because you won't get any credit for it, that he was Prime Minister over those periods then. The one who is on the curriculum is Michael Oakeshott. I'm not entirely convinced he's really a one nationist, but we've got to put him in somewhere, so we'll put him in here. So his great work is on being conservatism, and he's really about pragmatism and the traditional approach to measuring the efficacy of actions. And again, I have to say, Tutor to You have done a really good job on the thinkers, and so I'll link off to those at the end. Good. So again, we're going to follow this protocol. We're going to look at human nature because, of course, human nature is going to define your shape of your society, and the shape of your society and the economy is going to determine exactly what you want of your state. So human imperfection, nothing new here. It's exactly the same as it was for the last lot. We're looking at tripartite imperfection, intellectually limited, psychologically dependent, and still beset by that rational but psychologically flawed approach, particularly in that concept of present bias, putting our short-term selfish interests ahead of our longer-term, more enlightened, better interests. So that's exactly as it was. There's no transition there, no significant change as we move from traditional conservatism into one nation conservatism in terms of our approach to human imperfection. So still defined by limitation. And again, it's exactly the same here. We're still looking at that process of organic society, organic as natural, organic as growing, organic as vulnerable. So those are our three parts of organic society. Nothing has changed there at all. Where we change is when we come into the economy. So we're looking at social inequality, or rather economic inequality, where the gap between the rich and the poor, as Disraeli so memorably described, is so vast that it's actually representing a threat to the integrity of society. Now, what's really, really important is that we look at this as a pragmatic response to a particular position. Now, don't forget, the democratic socialists, Marx and all of his pals, are looking at the same thing and saying, well, we've got the rich up here and we've got the poor down here. That's critically unfair. How on earth can we have that situation? Whereas the one nation conservatism saying we've got the poor down here, we've got the rich up here. This isn't going to last. I mean, this will not hold. The centre here cannot hold. The social the inequality, the economic inequality is so vast that it threatens to break society. So what we have is a pragmatic response. The old ideas weren't working. We stick with what's working. When it's working, stick with it. If it's not working, toss it out, try something else. But move in small and gradual steps. So we're not going to rip out the entire mechanics. We are instead going to go slowly. We're going to try something. If it works, great, work with it. If it doesn't work, don't do it, try something else. So we've got a specific problem. This economic inequality so significant that it's going to threaten the integrity of the entire society. So we now have an obligation. Those who are in charge, those who are at the top of the great chain of being, have an obligation. I'm not happy with that, really. It's not so much the obligation on those with power to help, but yes, to help preserve organic society. That's what they're looking to do. What their obligation is to protect the whole of society, rather than necessarily the poor. It's that social model as a whole. That's where the obligation is. The poor are part of society, so yes, they're going to get the help, but they're not getting help because they're poor. They're getting help because if we don't do that, society itself is going to be fundamentally threatened. So the response is, we have mixed economy. We have that Keynesian approach. We would call it Keynesian now, obviously not Keynesian in the 19th century, because Keynes was just being born. So we have that balance of private and public, but we also have the free market. The free market is there to generate growth. We understand the need for economic growth, but that's going to be managed. We're going to have redistribution. We're going to take from the rich, we're going to give to the poor. The industry is going to be run to provide jobs, not just growth. We're going to have growth, yes, ideally we're going to have growth provided by the private sector. Yep, so that's going to generate growth, but we're going to run the state side of things to make sure that everybody has a job. Hence, that notion of the mixed economy. We've got private enterprise, we've got state-run enterprise. So both of these are running concurrently because we have to make sure that society is the servant of, rewind. The economy is the servant of society. That's critically important. Society exists, yes. That's the primary thing. We're worried about the organic society. The economy is there to serve society. And so we need to make sure that whatever's going wrong in the economy, we can fix it so that it doesn't damage the wider social program. So yeah, that's it. If you've got your head around that, then you're a long way towards understanding one nation society, one nation conservatism, that notion of the mixed economy, not driven by principle, not because we're worried about the poor, more worried about what is going to happen if we don't deal with this particular problem. Now, obviously that has massive ramifications for the state. The state we know is necessary, it's managerial society, it has to protect social integrity, but now it's got this another role, it's got another job, and that is to manage the economy, to make sure that the economy is serving those ends that we have set up for society. Critically important that we don't allow this economic bifurcation, this economic polarization to get to the point where it damages society, and so the state has to step in and fix it. The state is the managerial thing. Its job now is to manage the economy so that the economy does not damage or does not undermine the integrity of the state. And so this tinker state, a little bit here, a little bit there, twiddle that knob, pull that lever, we're going to engineer an outcome through the redistribution of income, through the running of state industry, through all of those things, through providing jobs that such that the economy is stable and it doesn't threaten society. We bring the rich and the poor closer together, not because we're big fans of egalitarianism, but we need their money to bring these guys up. That's it in a nutshell. Didn't expect it to get through in that short a time, so I probably left a lot of questions on the table. So any questions you've got, you know where I am, please let them through. Again, the critical thing here, this changing nature of the state. The state becomes the engineer of the economy, but again, not trying to engineer a particular outcome other than trying to stabilize and reduce the gap between the rich and the poor, because if we don't do that, everything's going to go very wrong very quickly. That's probably about it for this particular video. I'm worried I haven't gone over that in enough detail. But hopefully, if there is anything else that you have, any other questions that you have, then you can let me know. We're looking at a state there we've done this bit. Now, we have to understand that one nation conservatism was essentially the orthodoxy from the middle of the 19th century all the way through to 1979. In 1979, we have the emergence of conservatism of the new right. And again, to a huge extent, it's defined by what went wrong previously. So it's really, really important that you understand the nature of one nation conservatism. I will actually link off to other videos that I have on this particular subject, go into it in a lot more detail, and hopefully be able to bring that around and make sure that you haven't missed anything. But that's it for this video. Any questions, any comments, please do put them in the boxes. I look forward to seeing you to talk about conservatism of the new right. All the very best. Bye for now.